Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another animation breakdown and reaction. Today we have another Honkai Impact animation. This is Final Lesson. I'm sorry if I look a little bit tired, a little winded, sweaty maybe. I just finished recording a drum cover. That would explain that. But either way, I've been looking forward to getting back to another animation breakdown. It's been about 2 weeks, I think, so high time for me to get around to it again, and I'm interested in seeing what this one has to offer. So without further ado, let's go. Ooh. Already with the timing, huh? What do we got? Whew. All right. Sorry I'm not saying too much. I'm usually focusing a lot during these reaction bits. I want to make sure I don't miss something for the breakdown. Oh, it's you. For those who missed my reaction to the song Befall, I did watch that animation. There just wasn't much to talk about. So I was hoping this one would, and it's looking a lot more promising for topics to cover here. Oh yeah. This one definitely has stuff I can talk about. And we're not even done yet. All right. So edgy. Ooh. Impacts. I'm probably going to talk about those again. I love them. Ooh. Oh, yeah, okay. I see this is about the spot in their animation journey where they started to, like, significantly improve. Because I've seen some of the later ones, but not, like, only like 2 of the ones before this. And this is clearly the, like, oh, let's make this like a thing kind of animation. I know this song. Oh. Boy, are there things to talk about here.
これで授業はおしまいよ。
Oh man, this is gonna be a long video, isn't it? Oh no, I'm gonna have to spend some time on this breakdown. Oh no. Oh, the lighting on this. Just the lighting on this alone. Oh. Okay, yeah, definitely the turning point for their animation game where they were just like, oh, let's do this a few times, see how we feel about it. This was really them going, oh yeah, we feel this. Wow, okay. So we definitely have things to talk about, and without further ado, let's get right to those, shall we? So this wasn't too big of a thing to talk about, but I wanted to anyway. Just the shot of this mechanical dragon flying in. I thought it was really nice how they had the dragon switch from one side of the screen to the other, like right there. I just think it was a very effective use of the 3D camera space and allowing the character to pull a U-turn and enter the opposite side of the camera without having to do a change of camera shot. You kept it in that one single shot. Very, very intuitive and very, very effective. And right here on this sword swing that she does, it's just a good follow through with 2D effects. A lot of these little trails are usually 2D. It just makes everything feel a little bit more tight when you have things that are thin, like energy and trails from movement. These sort of motion blur things be 2D, so that's probably all they are, especially ones like this here. Either way, it's just very nice to see these put in there. They're all over the place in the Honkai animation scene. All of their videos I've seen so far have done this blend of 3D character, 2D effects, and that's a very common thing in the modern animation age to do, and it's very effective because not only does it save time in general, trying to fiddle with things in 3D and trying to get the same effect, but it also just straight up looks better because it matches that thinner energy. It doesn't have as much mass to it because it doesn't need it. So it works out really well in contexts like this. Another small thing here, the shading on her eyes here that kind of dances around with the energy that's in front of her, and it like slowly gets a little bit more jagged and spiky almost as the scene goes forward to get this full light here. And of course, while I'm here mentioning this too, the blooms that are all around the cape and everything, or I assume this is a cape, it looks like a cape. This is kind of neat. The way that it kind of just shows itself off with the energy, it makes everything brighten up and shows that explosion. Although technically it doesn't really make much sense to have something like a dark matte cloth shine. Sometimes just looking cool is all you really need. The cool factor can definitely be just the factor of adding something, especially in effects, because at the end of the day, when you look at the physics, you don't have to follow physics perfectly, especially in action stuff. You can fudge it a little bit, make it kind of look cool, because that's what sells, right? That's what sells a shot sometimes. And while we're on this shot, I also kind of like these little spikes here, these like energy waves, rather. It's almost a little bit like Kylo Ren's busted lightsaber, the one from the new trilogy. It's just got this cool energy wave beam effect. So I've talked about this before. The facial expressions in basically every single Honkai animation I've looked at so far, and I'm sure I will in the future, have really, really solid expressions for basically every emotion and every scenario I can think of. Whoever handles their animation team, especially for the facial animations, if there's a separate team for that, whoever focuses their efforts on getting these to look good knows exactly what emotions they're trying to get across and exactly how to pull it off. They excel in getting these sorts of emotions out onto the screen and from a character's perspective, making you feel that impact of whatever it may be, pain, sorrow, anything. They're so good at that. I'm not going to focus much more on it throughout. I think there's maybe 2 more shots that I want to talk about later in, but I just wanted to bring it up that I love how they do these, and this one especially is a standout because of the close-up. Whoever does these really gets what they're doing. So the reason I got so excited when I saw this one during the initial reaction was because it was probably the most unique form of 2D effects animation that I had seen, at least in this video, and I liked how they did these. The ribbons were very neatly done. The wave is very clear. They kind of spin and flip around, but they also have this just constant spiked, ripped energy. I'm not entirely sure if by design they just have those because they're back here, or if they were more added similar to these up here in just being motion lines, just having some sort of a speed spike to them to make them look faster. I never really saw them in a pause shot to be able to tell the difference if they are flat or not. I'm sure I will later though. I like the addition here of this sonic boom that's kind of breaking the sound barrier as it goes down, really selling that energy. And then, of course, going through these cubes, showing the impact, the flare of the cubes just breaking apart. Really nice, really clean, simple, but effective. All right, so I only paused here to see about these having these speed lines. They do not have it anymore, so that just proves that that last shot was using them purely for speed lines and that they weren't already torn of some sort. So I think that's really nice that they did that. It really did sell the speed, and I just wanted to pause it to see because I wanted to know if they were or not. So I only paused here because I wanted to see something that caught my eye, no pun intended. The eyes here on this character, is she a human? Or is she some sort of a mechanical being, like an android or something? Because her eyes are concave. Her irises are sunken in this model when she turns. I'm not entirely sure if this is intentional or if they just didn't really get the perspective of the design on her iris to look quite right. So when she's turning away, it creates that effect. But this line here definitely starts to kind of dig in as if the iris was pressed in instead of bulging out like the normal human eye would. And I don't know if that's a lore thing that I am just unaware of because it's not like I play the game, but I'm just curious. So somebody let me know about that one. Again, more expression work on these. They look fantastic every single time. This entire sequence following this is going to have really good expressions. I noticed that while watching it, and it's never not going to be the case. Everything looks great here. Here are these impact frames I was talking about. I knew if I talked too long, I would end up at another part to talk about. I love impact frames. Impact frames. We stand impact frames on this channel. They look so good. Impact frames are just these bright, beaming, sometimes they're inverted from colors like this. It really just depends on what sells the shot and what sells the impact the best. But I love pointing these out to people because you never really get to see them in motion. They're designed to be seen, but in a way that you feel it more than your eyes actually process what they are. Sometimes they're just straight flashes of color on the screen with absolutely no other details on it just to sell how strong an impact was, and I just love them for that reason. They really do their job here. This one's clever just because of how much detail they are leaving. They never let you forget what's actually happening on screen. They have a lot of this here. The character, of course, standing here. Every single point that brightens up and explodes shows exactly in the location. They never truly die out. So it's a very good use of that. Beautiful fire effects on this sword here. Just really, really, really selling the effects animation on this one. This was super neat too. Loved this. This is, I think, the only true effects animation that comes out of a character's attack in this shot. I mean, aside from her swords. I'm pretty sure that lens flare there is the only thing that's 2D in this shot. I think the rest of it is full CG. The way that they added the glow to tie it all together and make it feel really flat, but also coherent with the rest of the animation, and especially the other 2D effects that are in here. The way that they blended them together with colors to make them feel like they're all in one location is a very clean way to do so, and I just like pointing it out. I also wonder if this frame was intentional or not. It could have been a mistake. It could have been intentional for the motion and the impact. Like I had mentioned, sometimes they're just straight flat colors of nothingness, and this could be the case, but I feel like it was more of a mistake because I don't really see much of a reason for it to be between these two shots. It more feels like this shot should have started here, but somebody forgot to kick it back by one frame, because in motion, if you just play it through, it's just an awkward cut. There's no real purpose for it to not be there. So I think I may have found an animation error on that one. Sorry if that was the case and I'm pointing it out to a bunch of people, animators. You know how it goes. We all made mistakes. I make mistakes like this sometimes too. It's human, right? This sequence here of this character coming out of here and just getting ready to swing her big old sword. Really love the energy on this one. Lots of weight, lots of power. The speed and how she approaches again with a great expression. Just showing everything here. The reaction with another great expression. Sorry, I'm covering the other eye, but I like that the one is squinted more than the other. It really shows that sense of just befuddlement. And then you get to see these little lines here on this expression on each eye, just to show a little bit of worry. These are what's known actually as worry lines in the beauty world. Usually they come from somebody who is stressed all the time and they just kind of embed themselves into the skin. It's the same reason that wrinkles exist. They are a form of wrinkle. But when they're used in animation for expressions like this, it's just to give an extra punch to the emotion in the face and show how much stress is being put on the body. It's the same reason that the brow furrows, as you actually see in here, have these sorts of bends right here, the same exact reason. More fantastic expressions, more fantastic motion here. Lots of weight, lots of effects. This sequence here is absolutely nuts with effects. I'm pretty sure this shot is entirely 2D with the ribbons turning into this drill. I don't think that there's any CG in here, but they make it look almost CG with the way that the colors of the ribbons are set, with having that pattern on there, that like slight starry glow on it. It's very cool. Love that black dark energy around it, making this sort of haze that's following it around, adding more energy. Great like brush stroke effect here. It's just overall really cool. And again, like we talked about earlier, sometimes the cool factor is all you need, right? Now this is the most Gurren Lagann effects animation I've seen out of any Honkai animations. Some beautiful rays on the camera here. This lens flare having this rainbow ray around it. The circle of light in the center. That's very cool effects use. Not too terribly common, but it's really nice to see used. You don't often get this sort of attention to a shot. Usually it's something a little bit more standard, like a regular old lens flare that just kind of has its like starry spiked pattern. It's a lot more flavorful to have something like this be a lens flare instead of just something so boring and overdone. Of course, following that, we have some really cool effects animation here. Yet again, this 2D electrified, just spiky energy moving into this explosion. You get a few more rays of that electrified energy showing where the source of that is set. Just gorgeous all around. This is more of an impact set of frames that I expect. It kind of flash faded into this, which is a pretty common effect to do when you want to change a scene after a big explosion like this. It just always looks pretty cool in context, and it's a great way to kind of cheat your way to the next shot without having to think of some other way to transition it. Of course, this being a very anime thing to do, removing the irises and the pupils to make them really show the amount of stress on the body. This is usually shown after a character has passed out in a lot of anime. It's super common, but it's always very effective because it's something so unnatural to the mind. The human brain doesn't know what to do with it, and that also sells an emotional toll on the body and mind as well. I could go off on this sequence for a bit too, but I'm just going to kind of tab through it and let you see every frame. Like this little like spotty explosion here, all going back to the center. I find it kind of odd actually that they had this ball explode and then they immediately changed to a different perspective of the ball from farther out and also panned over a little bit. Very strange choice, but it does kind of work in motion. So that's another one of those things where you can kind of cheat the system as long as it looks good. You don't really have to worry too much about it. But I wanted to point it out and play it through so you guys could really appreciate each frame being done there. I'm also not entirely sure if this smoke ball here that appears and kind of flutters out is CG or 2D. If this is 2D, all of these strands of smoke is insane amounts of detail to spend drawing by hand. I want to believe that it's probably CG just because of the immense effort this would have taken to do by hand, but I also would not be surprised depending on the team doing it. Some of them just really love their 2D animation and put as much effort as they can into it, but either way, looks great. I don't care either way if it's 2D or 3D because it looks cool. Gorgeous expression here. I'm sorry, gorgeous expression here. Look at all of these lines. What is this, One Punch Man? Jesus Christ, that is so much detail to show the stress on the face, like we had just talked about. Those lines underneath the other character's eye, she's stressed. This girl has gone through some stuff. This is so much stress to the face, so much strain on the expression. All of these furrows going into the top of the nose's bridge, and even in these eyes here, you can just look at how the lines are different shapes and sizes. There's little separations all over the place. Even the pupils have basically nothing in them. They're just shapes. That is so telling of the strain that this character is going through, and it just looks so neat. This, of course, is another great example of those fantastic impact frames. This one has a straight up blank screen like I had mentioned earlier, and then it shows more detail and the color is completely gone. They really like doing that black and white stuff in Honkai, don't they? Pretty much all of their impact frames have been black and white ones. Not that I'm complaining, it's a great way to show it. Stylistically, it fits well. It's just super common in these animations, and I kind of wonder why, if it's for style or if somebody just has a bias. Somebody spent way too much time on this hair falling here. There's no reason that should be that smooth. Somebody spent a whole day or whole week of their lives dedicated just to get the weight of this hair simulation falling down. Keep in mind, this is CG. That's CG. They could have done that in 2D, frankly, but there's no reason to. It would have been so much more difficult to get that hair to match the depth and perspective of the shoulder and everything and have it interact with this shoulder as it falls off of it. It just made more sense to do it in CG, I'm sure, and it looks way better at the end of the day. But getting the weight tailored just to those two strands and animating them down probably took somebody an entire day just getting that done. All for this amazing shot here. This could be a poster. It's a beautiful shot. The colors are fantastic. The shading is glorious. The expression and the eyes is just so good. Another great expression here. They really didn't have to go so hard on the expressions, but they seem to go as hard as they possibly can on these expressions. They just look fantastic. Another great expression here. Fantastic. The way the camera pans around there, so good. This little lip pull, she just put her right there, like she pulls her lip down. You don't have to put that much effort in, guys. Nobody was going to notice that except for me, but thank you for doing it. Thank you for thinking about me. Thank you for thinking about the people who go through these things frame by frame and see every single piece of little detail you throw in. This looks fantastic. It adds so much character to that true anguish and change she's going through at this moment. It is so good. It's so good. Fantastic. Every single shot that this character is in post-expulsion of all that energy, the way that the lighting is handled, it's very hard lit. There's no real soft shading on anything. It's all hard cast shadows, these really clear lines. Why am I drawing in the air? I can point these out to you. Every single little hard line of shading, all the stuff in the hair here, it's all to show a little bit more of an intensity to these sequences. It's a very subtle thing to the mind, but you know exactly what's being said by just seeing the shading. Sometimes that's all you need. It's beautiful. I also love that her motions, like her sliding off here, they really extrapolated how many frames they put into it. The fall here, the shadows, of course, there was a little bit of a soft shade there, showing maybe a little bit of hope. The falling here, the glow of the background being a little bit brighter, all the falling pieces, including herself. So much good visual storytelling. But that's basically all I wanted to talk about. I think I went through the spots that interested me the most and I could give the most detail on. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you want to see more of these, definitely stick around. I will be getting to more of the Honkai animations. I have a loose plan of getting to all of them in time. I also have some Arknights ones that I'll be doing in between those and some other series that I haven't even touched on yet. I've got a lot of animation to get through. I love animation. I'm an animator. What can I say? It's one of my favorite things to talk about. But if you liked what you saw and you want to support me, you know how to do that, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye!